Hi, my name's Susie. I'm already 16, but I look about 5 years younger. And one day, that really worked in my favor. But let's start from the beginning. I lived with my mom in a tiny apartment in an old neighborhood. My dad disappeared so long ago that I couldn't even remember his face. And my mom lived like she didn't have me or any responsibilities at all. For her, parties, booze, and random people were more important than having food in the fridge. One night, everything just exploded. Someone was screaming in the hallway and slamming doors. I locked myself in my room, covered my ears, and stayed there until I heard sirens outside and heavy footsteps inside the apartment. The next morning, I left the building with my head down. The neighbors looked at me like I was part of the mess, like I belonged to that nightmare too. Sometimes, my mom would just vanish for days. That's when I switched into survival mode. I searched the pockets of old jackets, counted loose change, and realized it still wasn't enough for a real lunch. I went door to door, making up stories about a forgotten card or a sick mom, and sometimes I'd sneak into a store, grab something to eat, and bolt. My heart would be pounding like I was about to get caught and sent straight to jail. At school, everyone called me babyface because I looked way younger than my real age. Yeah, you already know that, but honestly, it didn't bother me. I had other things on my mind. I kept imagining what a normal day might feel like. Someone waiting for me at home, asking how my day went, not disappearing without a word. Everything finally fell apart when Mom borrowed money from some shady guys and put our apartment up as collateral. I found out by accident when I overheard them in the kitchen. Then things went south. My mom started screaming at one of the bad guys right there in our place. She was throwing glasses at him, yelling that no one was going to touch her. The neighbors called the police again. When the cops showed up, the apartment was a complete mess. Empty bottles everywhere, dirty dishes, while I, locked in my room, was shaking and starving. The cops talked to my mom, then to me, and then these people from social services showed up asking questions and writing everything down. Turns out, complaints about my mom had been piling up for a long time. The school had sent reports, the neighbors had called more than once, and the money that was supposed to go toward me had been spent on parties instead. First, my mom was suspended temporarily, and then she lost her parental rights altogether. She didn't even bother showing up to the hearings, didn't try to fix anything, and kept living like I never existed. And just like that, they took me to a shelter. It didn't look scary, but calling it cozy would have been a stretch. I kept going to school, pretending everything was normal. My mom never came, never called, never texted. Like she just erased me from her life. At the shelter, I became friends with the director, Mr. Harper. He didn't treat me like a problem or a case number. He bought me cocoa and helped me with my homework and talked to me like we'd known each other forever. Every week, I watched kids leave with new families, suitcases in hand, smiling on their way out, and every time something tightened in my chest because no one ever came for me. I started noticing that it was almost always the little kids who got chosen. Teenagers were basically invisible. One day, I talked about it to Mr. Harper.
The world isn't fair, Susie, but somewhere out there, there's definitely someone who will want to be your parent.
Yeah, but how long am I supposed to wait?
Listen, I just had an idea. What if we say you're younger? You already look like a kid anyway.
It sounded crazy, but I agreed. I started wearing more childish clothes. Mr. Harper altered the documents and changed my age to 12. After a while, a young woman named Christy came to the shelter. She wanted to adopt a girl, and her eyes landed on me. I smiled, answered her questions, and tried to be perfect. Then I asked Christy to tell me about herself.
I'm 25. I live alone in a big house, and I want to make some little girl happy.
We clicked right away, and a few days later, everything was set. Christy adopted me and took me home from the shelter.
Don't be a stranger. Keep in touch.
Christy's house was huge, like a real mansion, and I finally had a giant room all to myself. She bought me toys, took me to parks, went on rides with me, and treated me like I was really her daughter. We spent so much time together, and for the first time ever, I felt like someone actually cared about me. Christy left me little notes on the fridge, made sure I'd eaten, and called me in the middle of the day just to see how I was doing. I slowly got used to how quiet the house was, to no yelling, and to nothing mysteriously disappearing. But over time, I started noticing some strange things. Christy went out to work every day, but she never said what she actually did. And in the evenings, she'd lock herself in her office and made it very clear I wasn't allowed in. It was getting harder and harder to keep up the 12-year-old act. I hid my classmates from Christy because they looked older than me. If she ever saw us together, she'd definitely have questions. I did my homework locked in my room, tucking my notebooks under the bed and hiding my textbooks so she wouldn't notice the curriculum was way beyond a middle school level. But But even so, I was happy. I finally had a mom who made me breakfast, asked me about my day, and tucked me in with a blanket when I fell asleep on the couch. But one day, everything went sideways. I ran into the woman I used to call Mom. She looked just as awful as ever.
I hear you've got a new mom now, and life's going pretty well.
Yeah, finally someone actually cares about me.
You wouldn't leave me in trouble, would you? Take some money from your new mom for me.
That was the last straw. I exploded and let out everything I'd been holding in for years. You abandoned me. I was starving, and you have no right to just come up to me like this. I spun around and walked off, and she just kept yelling that I wasn't going to get away from her that easily. Back at home, I wanted to shake it off, so I suggested we go for a walk. But Christy looked tense, like something was off.
I've got to go. Some urgent stuff came up.
She didn't say where she was going and left so fast, it was like someone was chasing her. I was alone in the huge house, and for the first time, it actually felt kind of creepy. Walking by Christy's office, I noticed the door was cracked open. It was the first time it's ever been open since I moved in. I went inside and saw some school textbooks, notebooks, and tests neatly spread out on the desk, like someone was actually using them. Right away, I started wondering, does Christy have another daughter she's hiding from me? It felt weird and kind of alarming. The next day, we went to the mall, and I tried to carefully ask Christy about her past. Were you ever married? Did you have any kids? Christy smiled, but she dodged every question. She kept changing the subject to shop windows, food, or movies. I could tell she was hiding something. We were just walking when suddenly we ran into the one person I'd been hoping to avoid.
Oh, what a sweet little girl you have.
I froze. I felt like I couldn't get a single word out. Yep, this is my precious daughter. Susie's only 12. Christy smiled so proudly it made me feel weird inside. My mom squinted at me, smirked, and walked off, but I knew this wasn't over. The next day, I didn't want to go out. I was too scared of running into her again. So I faked being sick and stayed home alone while Christy went out. After a while, this guy I'd never seen just showed up at the door.
Where's Christy?
She's at work. Who are you? The guy looked me up and down and asked,
And you're, what, her daughter?
I got this weird feeling right away. I tried to kick this jerk out as fast as I could.
Tell Christy she better hurry, or everyone's gonna find out about her little secret.
That made me even more nervous. I knew for sure something wasn't right. When Christy got back that evening, I told her about the guy and what he said. She went pale.
That's my brother. Don't worry about it. I don't have any secrets.
But I could tell she was lying. She wouldn't meet my eyes and ended the conversation way too fast. The next day, I decided to follow her. I told her I was heading to school, but I rode behind her, keeping my distance. I was sure she was on her way to work, but instead her car suddenly stopped at a school. Maybe Christy's a teacher. But when I snuck inside, I saw Christy walk into a classroom and sit at a desk, like she was a student, not an adult. The lesson started and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then the security guard noticed me.
Hey, you don't go here. You can't be in this school.
The noise made all the students spill out of their classroom to see what was happening, including Christy. The guard escorted me out and told me to stay away from the school. I was standing there in total shock when suddenly my biological mother appeared, like a hungry dog following my trail.
Listen, Susie, if you don't pay me, I'll tell your new mom you're lying to her. You're almost 17 after all.
Those words pushed me over the edge and I exploded. I'm not giving you a single cent after everything you've done to me. Of course, at that exact moment, Christy came out of the school doors. She hurried over, first looking at me, then at my biological mother.
Who's this woman, and what are you even doing here?
I could tell from her face that she sensed something was off, even if she didn't yet know what. My mother didn't even try to keep it a mystery. She acted like she'd already won and said,
Sweetie, I'm Susie's real mom, and guess what? She's actually 16.
Christy froze. Her mouth dropped open and she stared at me like I'd just turned into someone else. I stood there, feeling everything inside me collapse. My mind was already running through a scenario where I'd be taken back to the shelter. I didn't even try to explain myself. I was sure it was over. But then, that guy, Christy's brother, came up to us.
So Chris got the cash, or should I spill the beans? Back off and mind your own business. Oh, really? Then your so-called daughter should know the truth. You're only 17. She faked her paper so everyone thinks she's an adult.
I was shook. Everything clicked in my head like a puzzle. The textbooks in Christy's office, her weird dodging when I asked about her past. I looked at her and realized we'd both been lying to the world about almost the same thing, just from opposite sides. My mother kept yelling and Christy's brother kept threatening her, but I could barely hear anything. Everything was just a blur of noise inside my head. When we got home, I went straight to my room and started packing. I was sure it was over. Christy would come in and tell me to leave, and honestly, I wouldn't even be mad. I'd ruined everything. But instead, she walked in and sat on the bed. We need to talk. I told her everything. No excuses. I've always just wanted someone to really care about me. Someone to be there, and yeah, I lied about my age because no one would have taken me from the shelter otherwise. I didn't mean to trick you. I just didn't want to end up alone again. Christy listened, and then she told me her story, and I realized she'd been just as alone as me all this time. A few years ago, I lost both my parents. They left me everything because my older brother's a total screw-up. He's always in trouble. He got mad, left, and decided I owed him something. Christy explained that she was left alone in this huge house, and since she looked older than her age, she faked her papers so she could just live her life and not depend on anyone. But she was lonely. That's when she found me and decided she could finally take care of someone. We stayed quiet for a second, then we just started laughing. The whole thing was so ridiculous you couldn't help it. My foster mom turned out to be my peer. I'm not letting you go back to the shelter. We'll figure something out. You're family now. But of course, things weren't that simple. The story spread fast, first through the school, then the neighborhood, and finally all over social media. Everyone was talking about us, posting, arguing about who was right and who was wrong. Then the official investigation started. Social workers came over and grilled us with questions. Christy got in trouble for faking her documents, and I was sent back to the shelter because that's how the law worked. I felt like I had been ripped from a home again. But this time, it felt different because the story had already gone public. People started posting that we shouldn't be separated, that Christy gave me everything my real mom never did, that the system was messing up normal lives again. Mr. Harper testified and confirmed that Christy had provided me with housing, safety, school, and a normal life. He said I was finally living like a regular teen. The social workers ran psychological evaluations. They concluded that Christy and I had formed a strong bond and breaking it could seriously hurt the both of us. Christy owned up to her mistake, cooperated with the investigation, and agreed to face administrative penalties. She knew she'd done something wrong, even if she hadn't meant any harm. Mr. Harper got hit the hardest. He was fired for faking my documents. I seriously threw a fit back then because he was just trying to help.
Don't worry, Susie. It's okay. I should have handled it like an adult, not break the law.
I realized that even good intentions have a price. In the end, the authorities decided not to send me back to the shelter, and Christy became my temporary guardian under social services supervision. Her inheritance was put on hold until she turned 18. Doesn't matter. The main thing is that we're together again, and I'm almost 18 anyway. Social services also backed our idea to turn Christy's house into a safe place for teens from tough backgrounds, just like I was. A place where they could feel safe and have some support. So I stayed with Christy, not as a little kid anymore, but as a teen, finally given a home, care, and a shot at a normal life. And here's what I realized. Family isn't about papers or blood. It's about the people who choose you every day, even when the truth comes out and nothing goes as planned.